Thank you, Madam President. I move the resolution pass, and speaking to the resolution.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This one's a tough one. This one is a tough one. I first met Donald McEachin when I was in college. At the University of Richmond, I was a Cigna Scholar, which is a program for African American students. And he and his law partners were mentors to the scholars. And I remember as a young lawyer getting to know him even better. I remember the commercials and his big booming voice where he would say that McEachin and G was the co-holder of the largest personal injury settlement in Virginia history. And how, particularly with what is now the Hill-Tucker Bar Association, what was then the Richmond Old Dominion Bar Association, they were always present. When he ran for Attorney General in 2001, I was chair of the 3rd Congressional District Democratic Committee. So whenever they were in the 3rd District, which at that time stretched from Richmond to Portsmouth, I would campaign with them. This big bear of a man who was physically intimidating, but was a giant teddy bear. And I would watch him interact with people. And that election didn't go the way he wanted it to, but he didn't give up. In 2005, we were both elected to the House of Delegates. It was his second tour, and we got to be colleagues. And watching him on the floor down the hall was incredible. And I aspired one day to be as good a order. I knew I'd never be the same because we were very different personalities, different styles, but I thought, I hope I can hold people's attention the way he did. And he moved over to the Senate, and we partnered on a wide variety of issues. Everything from fighting predatory lenders to criminal justice reform. And when he got elected to Congress and I had the honor to succeed him, he was tickled. And he would love, as we were out at joint appearances, to remind me of the legacy of the 9th Senate District, which was held by J. Sergeant Reynolds, Benjamin Lambert, Doug Wilder, him. And he would always get this twinkle in his eye, and he'd say, she's smarter than the rest of us, and she does everything in heels. And I would remind people I could never fill his shoes. And then I would remind people the legacy that he was upholding in the 4th Congressional District, the district in which my mom lived, still lives, and the district that sent the first African American to Congress from Virginia, John Mercer Langston. And while he was gone from this body, he paid close attention to what we were doing. He paid close attention to what was happening in the community. And often he would call and we would gossip, or we'd talk about what was happening. We'd partner on legislation. And even when he was sick, he would not let that keep him down. I'm convinced that public service kept him alive longer than he otherwise would have been alive. And what particularly struck me was how he went to seminary to get a theological degree because he understood, but wanted to be able to better articulate how Jesus's mission was a social justice mission. And because his faith informed is politics. But he didn't have the language to articulate that until he went to seminary. The last time we were together was in Charles City County. He loved Charles City County. We were there for a ribbon cutting for the Skipjack Solar Power Plant, which this body helped make possible with the Solar Freedom Bill, and which he helped continue with significant historic funding he got in the Inflation Reduction Act for clean energy and renewable energy projects. And he was stronger than he had been in a long time, but his staff was very protective, and we had to speak on a stage, and they had arranged for him to speak on the floor, and he said, no, I'm going up on that stage because this is too important. The last conversation we had was about the need for a constitutional amendment on reproductive freedom. And Madam President, I felt him in this room when we debated that. And I knew I almost expected him to call afterwards, as he had on so many other occasions, to say, first, job well done, but second, to talk about what was next. Donald McEachin never achieved his dream of becoming president of the United States, but he did so much more than that. He touched so many lives. His legacy will live on, and I am confident that when he showed up at the pearly gates, he heard, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Chair recognizes